Welcome to Breaking the Ice. We're Patel, Greene & Associates, and we're here to tell stories about our three favorite things: business, culture, and engineering. Let's get to it. All right, well, welcome back to our next edition of the PGA podcast, which we call Breaking the Ice. I am your host, Gordon Greene, and with me today is Joe Losaria, a structures director, principal, longtime friend.
Yes, sir. I am here.
And today we're gonna, as usual, with guests like Joe, take a little stroll down memory lane, but also got a topic in mind. So we're gonna be talking about, career choices and kind of crossing over and not really knowing where you're gonna end up and the path that it can take to get there. And Joe's got a very interesting story to tell there. And I've got, I guess, a few parts of my career that kind of fall in line with that too. So I'll share some. So just to get us started, Joe, why don't you, tell us a little bit about some of that background, including, how you and I met.
Yeah, no, I think, it started in 1999. That's when I migrated here to the US, right? And from the get-go, I knew I needed to do civil engineering. But what was interesting about that started with my uncle. He owned a cement plant back in the Philippines way back when. I had no clue what civil engineers did. All I knew is he did pretty well and he owned a cement plant. And I was like, well, if it worked for him, maybe it'll work for me. But that's when we moved here. So I had to finish my degree at USF. But I was fortunate enough there. I was one of my friends, and you probably know Scott Blazel too. So we took a bunch of classes together, and somehow he was already at PBS&J at the time as an intern as well, helping the PD&E group. So he offered me a position there to also be an intern just like him. And that's kind of where the steering of the career really all started. And I think you were an intern at that time.
Yeah, I was trying to think back. Did we meet at USF or PBS&J? It must have been PBS&J. And then later on, I actually could recognize you over at USF in some of my classes, and we were kind of friends, I guess through work. So yeah, same deal.
Yeah, it's funny. I think we had those engineering papers we used to use for our homework. And anytime I see all these different interns, we all had different papers, and you could see PBS&J was on a bunch of our homeworks at the time. So I think that's when I found out you worked at PBS&J too. And obviously just things started from there. But yeah, I think that was really the beginning of my career. I think similar with you, it all started with just CAD and doing markups and helping with whatever, they had at the Tampa office at the time. But I think the best career opportunity at the time was when I got a chance to work at District 7. I was just an intern, and I think I was working maybe 12, 16 hours a week, and they assigned me over at the district office. And all this, I had no clue how FDOT operated. That was my first time ever being in a DOT office, which is a little different maybe than your story. But I was in consultant project management at the time, and I had no clue what they did there. But that was the first time I met Joe Hitterman, who actually, 24 years ago.
Department back then.
He was a project manager, and I was helping all the different PMs there at the consultant project management office, and worked with Joe a lot. But that's when I really learned more of like, what is the FDOT world, like, all these different submittals, consultants, and my task at the time was to literally go through boxes of submittals from all the different consultants and make sure every sheet is in every
paper plans,
and make sure all the pages are there. They're all signed and sealed, things like that. That we really don't do these days anymore. But learned a lot, mainly meeting people there at the DOT. So
yeah, I don't want to fast forward too much in your story, but when I was thinking about getting to know you coming up, so I'll just go ahead and insert some of these things. I don't think we crossed too much because I started in Bartow and you were in Tampa, so I didn't really get to know you till I started going over to Tampa some while I was still going through school. But we did have some classes together. And,
A few.
this isn't me patting myself on the back or anything, but I was always good at school. School always came fairly easy. And, a lot of the times, having like the best grades or whatever in the class. And, it's hard not to say that and not come off like some sort of not even that humble lower brag. But I remember we had circuits together, and I'm sure you did better than me in that one. But what I really remember was that numerical method. Not numerical method. Is that what it was? The MATLAB with Krantz?
MATLAB, yep. I remember that class.
Dr. Krantz, who was an interesting guy, surely retired by now.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully. Nora's still there.
Yeah, true.
And this was like computer programming, but, Joe and I had some experience through criteria, I guess, writing criteria for cross sections, and, had a knack for it. And the way this guy graded his tests, it was a true curve. It was 0 to 100. And so, a lot of the guys at least some of the guys that I hung out with, some there at school, they were getting like 25. 30 on a test. And that was like kind of most everybody was getting a 20, because then he would curve it, and then those people getting 25s would have like a C or something like that. So they're all getting like 25s and 27s, and I'm sitting right there and they're asking me, hey, what did you get? And I'm kind of hiding it because I get like an 84 or something like that. And thinking I'm super smart, just to find out that Joe Losaria got like a 95 or 100 or something. I'm like, dadgummit. And the peak of that humiliation was probably the end of the semester. We're done. I did well in the class, walking up, and he's talking to Joe, and I walk up, and he's obviously trying to get Joe to accept a whatever, like a master's, like be his TA or whatever, do get a master's degree with him. And I'm like, I'm here, so he's going to ask me now too, because I did pretty good too. Nope. See you later. I probably don't even know my name. And off I go. And I'm like, I'm Joe Losaria. And the other thing that I'll always remember about you is later on when you came back to the department or to PBS&J office, every year they would do work program update cycle. And there was always some poor scrub that got put in charge of it. It was always a young person. Well, Joe was that poor scrub one year.
Oh yeah.
And I had never done those before. So that just meant he was in charge. There was I don't know, dozens and dozens, right? And someone had to keep track of it, make sure it all got done on time. And
PPRs
and that was Joe's job that year. And everybody gets a few, so I had my few, and I didn't know what I was doing, but whatever I did was really wrong. I did it really wrong. And I go to Joe, and instead of what I came away with is, he just told me I did the whole thing wrong, like badly, but did it in like the nicest way possible. I left that conversation like actually feeling good that I had done it all wrong, which I was very impressed by. And you were like, I don't know, 22 or something. It's like you were a seasoned manager, and it was just your natural way. So yeah, and you've maintained that. You're still very good.
Yeah. The engineering is one thing, but I think one of the things I learned just going to school, like meeting people and, just being nice too plays a big thing. Like the Joe Hitterman
and it's
example.
Easy to do.
I remember, I was into computers at the time. I helped him upgrade his home desktop. Like you do all these other things just to build relationships, through growing up. So, man, but yeah, USF, man, a lot of good memories. I remember the study group I was in. I don't think we had some of those together, but like Jennifer Greene
should have been there, I guess.
Jennifer Greene, who's now the state drainage engineer, she was in part of my study group. So you'd be surprised at like what can happen down the road that you wouldn't even.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned Scott, and he's Scott, a Layaway group
at HDR. Yeah. But yeah, I think the main point there is, it's funny now looking back. I wish I was a little more intentional, steering my career path. I just kind of happened to step on the right things, I guess, at the right time and end up where we're at now. But I think one other thing I wanted to share was I switched disciplines a lot. I think all the stories you're mentioning. So that's when I was in roadway.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first 4 years my career after my bachelor's degree. I wanted to join the structures group. Johnny Fung, one of our other PGA structure staff members, he was in the structures group already at the time, but they wouldn't let me in. They said, you need a master's degree to be in the structures group. So I was like, fine, I guess I'll take Dr. Krant's advice and go take a master's. So my first 4 years, I was doing roadway until I can get that master's degree. But looking back now, that wasn't intentional, just happened by accident there, pursuing what I really wanted to do. But I wouldn't trade that for anything now. Looking back, like I did roadway, I did a little bit of water resources, ended up doing some water main CAD plans for our water resources group with Ernie, if you remember him at the time. And then did some landscaping plans. Anyway, that was like that first 4 years, I think working in roadway was super beneficial. Got to meet Gordon, Hiron, and all these other folks that, wouldn't change that now for sure. But yeah, I think I was going to go over a little bit of my career experience too. I think that first 4 years, like I said, I call that like the exploration period just because, I wanted to do structures, but, obviously you can't do what you want right when you graduate. You end up kind of trying different things. And I think a lot of younger engineers probably experience the same thing. And then you've got that time period from like year 4 to year 10, where I think that's the time when you really have to kind of hone in on what you want. And I guess for you, that was drainage, a little bit of roadway here and there.
Yeah. I did a lot of roadway up front, and I do consider myself a roadway engineer, but I've done drainage for longer, and it's cooler to be a drainage engineer, so I go with that.
Yeah, and for me, that was structures, I guess. I kind of really wanted to do that, and that was the time period I think that was the most beneficial in my career. And then from that year 10 to year 15, I think that's when you end up venturing a little bit beyond technical skills. You start some project management, being involved in marketing, business development. And so that was like my year 0 to 15. But looking back, there are some things I could have done differently. This topic about steering your career, I think early on, I probably should have done all the certifications I could have done. I think the SE exam for structural engineers out there, that's one that, man, I still regret not doing that early in my career.
Homework's harder when you're 40, ain't it?
Oh my gosh. That and sitting on a 16-hour exam in your 40s is very different when you were in your 20s. I think a little bit more networking early on. I probably could have done that a little bit better on that. Maybe something to share in my career. I worked 2 jobs to pay for my college, right? So there was just no time to socialize. It was study and try to get my degree and work hard. So that was kind of, but I think had I joined ASCE and maybe do a little more things early on, that may have been a little different.
You did okay.
I did okay there. But the other thing, man, like understanding of F.dot pre-qualifications, I think I had no clue what that was until I joined PGA.
Same.
Yeah, and now looking back, I'm like, oh, if I had done like the segmental bridge for maybe a few more years, that would have been helpful. Yeah. Maybe I could have tried some movable bridges early on, things like that. You're just going, you're not thinking about pre-quals in 20 years, what that would do to your career. But for younger engineers, I think understanding that early on could have a lot of benefits down the road, right? And honestly, this is where Gordon is and Hiron, I think, excelled a lot. Is just that business mindset early on. I think had you not approached me back in 2013 to start a structures group, I didn't really have that business mindset, and I think that's where a lot of they just don't teach that in school,
right?
And I decided to go down a technical route and pursue my master's in structures, where I think you had done an MBA and kind of honed that in a lot better. So those are some of the things I think I could have done a little bit better on. But looking back, no regrets for sure. Yeah. And everything we've described, that just built relationships and kind of helped put us where we're at now. So
Yeah, and thinking back to doing things like drawing up landscaping plans. I mean, you're not really doing that much anymore, but
nope.
I think it speaks to a mindset of a young engineer, just young professional. When you're doing a good job and working hard and you build a little reputation of like, well, Joe will take care of whatever and he'll do a good job. And back then you're cheap, right? So someone needs help, then we'll just let Joe do it. He'll figure it out. And I had a lot of those same opportunities here in Bartow. It was such a small office at PBS&J that they had a little planning group and a little like a utilities group. And of course we had the GEC, and that provided plenty of opportunities for my sort of bread and butter expertise. Well, it wasn't expertise back then, but I knew how to do that stuff. But I remember just doing maps, like, the planning group needed, I remember this goes way back, but there was still GIS, and they wanted all these GIS maps done up for some study they were doing. And it didn't make much sense to me back then, but thinking back, it makes sense. They wanted too many hours to do it, or it was going to take too many hours to do it, and they didn't have the budget, which I viewed back then as like negatively, but because I was a dumb kid and I didn't know that to do all that would have taken a lot of effort, and they just didn't have the budget. So we did it all in CAD, and it wasn't smart like GIS, but they looked good. And I had to figure a whole bunch of stuff out on my own. And the point is, like, this sort of can do, no, this isn't probably on my path. I don't really plan to be a planner or a GIS person, but you need help. I think I can help you, and, it gives me more to do. And so absolutely, I'll do it. And then, even those relationships, that lady that ran the planning group, then she ended up right here in Bartow at Central Florida Planning Council. So you build these relationships that you don't have to know that it's going to play out in the long run, but chances are with this very small community that we work in, it will. So lesson is, yes, try some new things out, help some other people. If you can find yourself at a company like we were at and like we have become, especially when you're coming in, just do whatever you can to help.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think those are some of the things that don't change regardless of where or what you're doing. Right? As a young engineer, if you have the can-do attitude, do your best, excel at it, I mean, the opportunities almost just naturally come, right?
Exactly.
The same thing on that 40th Street job where I did the landscaping CAD efforts when I was younger. I had no clue what goes in a landscaping plan. So I just got a bunch of markups from the actual registered landscape architect. But you do a good job, and you ask the right questions, and you work hard, and you meet the deadline, and it all works out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So try to take lessons from our own life experiences. And as happens a lot of times, that's what ends up informing how, we build out PGA and things we try to put in place to make those things happen, or make them available for folks coming into PGA. So I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about, ways you've made that possible within the structures group, way you've stepped into leadership roles, for the company overall to build programs out that make that possible.
Yeah, I think we basically took everything we learned from, working at those larger firms and everything I've learned from my career before PGA, kind of applied those once we started the structures group. It took a little while. Obviously, it was me and Johnny for at least a year and a half or 2 years, I think, prior to having a real group. But and we've done a lot, right? Examples of those, I think we had interns pretty early on at PGA, which we obviously have now. But you look back 10 years ago, what our internship program is versus now, it's drastically different in a lot of good ways, for sure. But I think that's one, because I think early in our story, right, we both started as interns. And that clearly had a lot of benefits for us in our career. And we want to make sure we carry that to that PGA. Helps the company too. So I think, we can talk about the STEP program a little bit now if you want to.
Yeah, well, just to echo some of what you're saying, especially in yours, in my case, we did work our engineering jobs through college. And so when you try to weigh the value of bringing in kids for the summer or on a part-time basis while they're in school, is it worth it? Can they really learn anything? Like, we know firsthand, it absolutely gives you a huge advantage, which gives us an advantage.
Right.
So it's certainly a win-win thing. So it's a no-brainer for, I mean, we've been doing that from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think the whole rotating around your career, the first 4 years, I think we've built our internship program essentially with a very similar mindset with the STEP program that we have. That's basically the summer program where we allow the interns to rotate now through all the different disciplines, which I think helps. I wish that was the internship we had 24 years ago, right? Granted, we still kind of were able to do a lot of things, but I think making that a part of the actual program will really help a lot of the young engineers that go through our STEP program internship. I think another one is just being able to rotate. Like, even in the structures group, we have a lot of EIs that didn't necessarily start in structures, right? Victor worked 2 days in roadway. And then became a structures EI. But we have plenty of other ones that were in drainage for a little while. And I think Michael is one example where he was in roadway for, maybe
for
4 years.
His however long he was at the place he was at before he came over here. But even, I guess it probably was so.
Yeah, he did a little bit of roadway when he first joined us too. And then I switched over to structures. So just kind of back to my story of that first 0 to 5 to 6 years of your career. I think it's really a good thing because Michael's excelling obviously now in structure.
He would agree. And you're able to speak to him from a place of personal experience to say, hey, I'm not asking you to do this because I'm holding you back or whatever. Like, that's exactly what I did, and I'm glad I did it.
Right. So, yeah. And at the end of the day, I think everything we do, it's going to be multidiscipline, right? So if you ever want to become a project manager and way down your career where you touch all these different things on one job, understanding a little bit of something or what the others do goes a long, long, long way. So
and appreciate what they do. Like, I don't have to know the ins and outs of an ITS design, but I can certainly appreciate the work that goes into it and not just willy-nilly blow through their designs with my drainage design or something,
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we always joke in structures, right? Even though we're only bridging the 2 roads coming up to the water. At the end of the day, we can't do a bridge with no alignment profile, and having some understanding of how all that's set will make you just a better structures engineer too. So that's one example. I think one lesson learned, I guess, from my career, I wish I had worked at like smaller or medium-sized firms too early part in my career. I had zero exposure to that the first 12 years of my career because I only worked at large firms, right? So I think to anyone listening out there, I think don't be so selective of like, oh, I just want to work at large firms with large projects. You'd be surprised at how much learning actually can happen at a place like PGA, or even some other smaller firms. It's a whole different company, but it's still the same projects, but you get to touch on more things, I think, if you work at a smaller firm. So I think that's one. The third one I had was just finding mentors early in your career. We've kind of taken that to a whole different level too at PGA. I think early on, I forget when we started it with the structures group. It was obviously once we had enough mentors is when we started that, which in the beginning, it was a small group, but I figured that was a good thing to start early on too, which now we do it company-wide, obviously, right, at PGA. And the help of others, it's a more formalized thing where, we get to partner different folks in the company, which I really think that should have been a thing that was at some of these larger firms I work for. Luckily, you kind of naturally, organically find mentors too, I guess, even when you work at larger firms. I had a few of those growing up in my career as well. But think that's one thing we've kind of taken to heart, the PGA, and actually instituted something here too.
We found a way to hire some of our mentors over here.
Right.
It's always been nice.
Absolutely. So that's one. I think the other one is just not being afraid to take risks. Is one other thing that we've kind of taken here at PGA. And what I mean by that is, I think if there's something that you're passionate about, you want to chase a project, work on a design build project. At least here, we don't limit the growth of our staff members. And I think some of the other firms, obviously, especially the larger ones, you get kind of pigeonholed on a project for 4 or 5 years in some cases. It's really hard to take risks, right, when you're in a larger firm. Whereas here, we have a lot more opportunities to do that. And we obviously encourage that a lot. And I think a lot of our young staff too, I feel like they know they can take risks. So it allows them to be go-getters and really try to improve their career,
Yeah. They won't be punished.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And then I think the last thing, I think the whole running a business line, I mean, I've been kind of learning that on the fly the last 10 years here at PGA. But obviously with your help in hiring, I think I learned a lot doing that, just understanding financials and managing projects, making sure the company actually turns a profit every year, instituting things to make those things happen down the road. I think that's been a great learning experience too.
Absolutely. And that's a lot of those conversations on the evolution of a career. And of course, we're thinking more like, well, you could do roadway and then maybe you do structures and maybe you become a project manager. And that's all true. But, sometimes you get the opportunity, like in your case, to then, of course, you're still doing the structures and the project management, but now, this business management, financial stuff, and just leadership in general is kind of this next evolution of your career.
Yeah,
So,
maybe
nice.
Flipping the question over to you, Gordon, is like, what made you take the MBA, right, instead of a master's degree in civil engineering? How do you know if that was the right thing to do at the time?
There's no knowing, but they were going to pay for 80% of it. So the price was right. And I enjoy school, and I guess I was pretty firmly in drainage at the time, and I wasn't going to get a master's degree in water resources or anything. Like I wasn't going to really learn anything probably that was my thought anyway. But there was a lot about business I didn't know. And again, they were going to pay for most of it. So I made it work. The intent was never to start my own company back then. It really was because this would have been, I took a semester off. I graduated with my engineering degree at the end of 2003, and I started my MBA in the fall of 2004. So I'm going to take a little bit of time then I started. And it took me longer to get the MBA than it did to get the engineering degree because I was working full time.
Okay.
Full time and then some, and had kids. Halfway through, I had kids. My wife had kids. It was really just, so in 2004, everything was peachy at PBS&J, and I'd planned to work there forever. And so it really was just to be the best manager and leader and whatever I could be for them, genuinely. And then by the time I finished that degree, things had changed a little bit at PBS&J. I guess around that time, maybe a little bit after I graduated. But so then I was, in hindsight, glad I had that information for sure.
Yeah, so I think steering your career path like that's probably not. There's a reason most young kids go to engineering, right? It's not the MBA thing is like the last thing.
Right.
They're there for science, math, and all that. But I think now that we're more mentors to some of the younger engineers, like if there's someone that wants to take an MBA, and I'd support them for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the last thing I got is also some of the leadership things. I think we've instituted a really good program here at PGA with the LIT program. I I think I do wish there were a few more opportunities like that in my career. Because again, I was pretty heavy in the technical side. I think I didn't really get into management till I was here at PGA. But that's another one I think that we've really taken from our previous career and built a pretty good program.
Yeah, just exposing folks to the things as early as possible. Not too early, but like you say, management. We try to give people that experience fairly early on when they show the aptitude for that sort of thing, and just get them exposed, get them comfortable with it, and then when those things do get a little hairy, they've already got some experience.
Right. Yeah, I think the last thing on the steering your career. See, most fields, I feel like you don't have to do too much steering, like computer science, right? You kind of know or become a pilot, what you're supposed to do, right? But our field, man, there's such a broad market of things you could do where you do have to have a little bit of steering in your career. Otherwise, you could end up just steering forever as well.
In circles.
So I think I'm glad I had the right mentors and worked at the right companies where I was able to steer my career to a pretty narrow path, and it's been good.
Yeah. And then one day, some guy invites you to Taco Bus and shakes it up a little bit.
I know. Yeah, that was the infancy of PGA structures with a Taco Bus in downtown
Tampa. Yep.
But yeah, well, I don't no regrets, man. I think one of the best decisions I made. Hopefully we could keep it going.
You want to know the conversation or the internal dialogue that was going on in my head while we're sitting there, Taco Bus? So I was at some conference downtown, and Howard and I had been talking about it. Yeah. And I was there, and it was one of those conferences. We were still pretty new, and I didn't know many people at this conference. So I was, I guess, on my own for lunch or didn't want to stick around there. And I think I called Howard and I'm like, I think Losaria works at the HTTP is downtown, so I'll just see if he wants to meet for lunch.
All right.
And so he did, and we met. And I'm thinking, well, he's probably not going to want to do it, And then as we talked about it some, you were showing definitely enough interest that in my head I was like, oh crap, he might actually be interested in this. So then it was full court press for the next however long. It didn't take that long. I think you were definitely into it, so it was just
it's back
making sure it was going to work.
It's back to that whole taking risks thing, right? Like, we're all engineers, so I weighed the risk. I was like, all right, well, I'm at a pretty good point in the technical side of my career. I'm like, I guess I could keep doing that or take this risk, but what's the downside? I guess I could always go back. But sometimes you just got to take the risk, man. Well, and see how it shakes out.
And I kind of remember some of those conversations, and it speaks to, of course, we didn't have any core values. We did, but we didn't have them written down.
Right.
And so one of them, of course, is integrity. And I can remember there, trying to recruit you and Johnny over, honing some of those skills. And I could see how some people would try to maybe downplay whatever your current position was or tell you that that wasn't going to work out for you or whatever. And I remember thinking, it doesn't matter what Joe Losaria is doing. He is going to be super successful. Okay. Why try to convince him otherwise? So I remember in those conversations, like, whatever you decide, Joe, you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to be super successful. You stay there, you're going to end up running the group one day, and whatever you want to do, you're going to be able to do. But here's this other opportunity. And I think here's what that might look like. And you'll be successful at that too. And I really felt that about you. And I remember that being very freeing of just like, honestly, that's that kind of person that you are. You're going to be successful. I'd just rather you be successful here with us, obviously.
I appreciate it.
And I've employed that tactic many times when I felt it was true. I don't try to blow smoke.
No.
But we've been able to recruit many people that fit that bill. Like, it doesn't matter where you're at or what you're doing. You're going to be good and successful. Just have fun over here with us while you do that.
Yeah, and I think our recruitment process, we do a pretty good job of filtering that out of people. And we've obviously hired a lot of key individuals that match that too. And I kind of use the same tactic too.
It's effective.
Yep.
The truth.
Exactly.
All right, so we got a little bit more time. I'm gonna spring something on you that was sprung on me at a golf tournament round around with Joe Locke. So, you're Joe 1 because we hired you first, and we started hiring more Joes and we numbered them. So Joe Locke is Joe 2, even though we did his podcast first, and now we're doing your podcast. We're mixing all that up, but we were playing golf, and I'm not sure if it was the golf course beverages that had been consumed at that point, or if he was trying to do an impression of a podcast host. But we're just riding through the golf course, and he goes, "Hey, why don't you tell me 2 or 3 career-defining moments on a golf course?"
On the golf course.
On a golf cart.
That's got to be the dream.
I'm like, "What are you doing?" But I thought, that's a pretty good question. And so we just discovered career-defining moments riding through a golf course, playing golf. So we shared some today, so you can refer back, but I'm sure there are others. How about some career-defining moments for Joe Losaria?
Oh, yeah. I think I shared a few already, but definitely number one was the DOT experience. The DOT is such a family-driven workplace, and those relationships you build there. I remember when I ended my internship there, they even gave me a pin that had my name engraved, but those relationships I built with the department employees at the time, I think that really helped career-defining moments, right? Because then when I was working and then down the road chasing some projects, like those relationships still come in very, very handy to this day, right? Joe Hitterman's one example. So I think that's one for sure. I think the crosstown connector, if folks are not familiar with that.
That was one of mine as well.
Hey, there you go. On the roadway side, and I was on the structure side.
Drainage.
No, drainage. Sorry. Yep. That was 4 years of defining our career moment, I guess. A lot of sweat and late nights and hard work on that project for sure. But I think on the technical side, that was definitely a career defining moment, in my opinion.
Conflict resolution.
Yes.
A little bit.
But no regrets, right? At the end of the day,
it's all learning.
Exactly. Yeah. Good or bad, you learn either way. So I think that's one. And then probably last is the taco bus lunch. That's a probably career defining moment. I don't think I'd be here today had we not talked about joining PGA at that time. But yeah. And it's funny about this whole career steering thing. It's not like we plan a lot of those things, right? Like the crosstown connector, I think that job was just sitting on the shelf for God knows how long before we ended up picking it up, and it's kind of fell on our laps, and there you go, changed our careers.
I got sucked into that, being the sucker that volunteered for a pond sighting report in a drainage staff meeting.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's same with me. I remember I was trying to join the structures group.
Yep.
And the timing of my master's degree was just right when the crosstown connector was starting up, and they needed they needed structure engineers for that project. So yeah,
those were long nights.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I think the lesson though is as much steering as you do, there is some things that's kind of naturally happens, but
just got to roll with it.
But I think to your point, the ICE values, right? As long as you keep the integrity, commitment, excellence, no matter where you steer your career path, you'll end up in the right place if you keep those 3 in mind.
That's right. Yeah, I'd probably say taco bus would be on my list as well. I think we'd hired a couple of people, not very many. Hiring's one thing, persuading someone to do what you and Johnny did. I had never done them before. I wasn't sure that I was capable of that. But like I mentioned earlier, to be able to do it truthfully and with integrity, I didn't fool you into anything, because the last thing I wanted was to talk you into such a huge career move, you and Johnny, and then not deliver and disappoint you. And, that I wouldn't have been able to live with myself. So it was a good learning opportunity for okay, I'm capable of this, and you can do it by telling the truth. You can talk people into things, into big decisions, with the truth. It's amazing.
To your point, I think recruiting the rest of the structures group from our network, I mean, I kind of employed the same tactics in a way, right? I mean, it started with Johnny, but obviously our first 2 or 3 hires were our former coworkers from other places. So I think learned a lot from your tactics.
All right. Well, I think that was good. I enjoyed thinking back on some of those old projects, and we've known each other and been friends for a long, long time. I'm glad that you're here at PGA forever, and and you're a prime example of what we always try to do the best we can is to hire people that are smarter than us. And I know that probably embarrasses you, but I know you're doing the same. You're trying to bring in the best and brightest structures engineers, and if at all possible, you want to be smarter than you, because we're not going to be here forever, and we want the next generation of PGA to be better and better. So appreciate you joining me here.
Yes, sir.
PGA Breaking the Ice podcast, and look forward to the next one. And then how we're doing on 3, we're going to do a really good job with this. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So on 3.
On.
Our 1, 2, go PGA. That's better.